Well, this is part 3 of the Resiliency Overview series, the last lecture in this series for Module 1. And in this part, I'm just going to talk about how this works on an individual level. What does it mean to you personally, to each one of us as an individual, and how we can see it play out in our own experience. Because in this work, when you see it in yourself and you see it for yourself, it's much easier to then see it in other people and share it with other people. So, how does it work? Well, first of all, because it's principles, it's not personal. It leads to a universal understanding of how people function and how we function just because we're people. It's not problem specific. And when you're looking at the principles behind something, understanding how our psychology works, we're talking about an innate human capacity to access solutions, to find our wisdom, to find common sense and well-being, no matter what the problem is, across all problems. And it operates from insight. So therefore, anybody at any age, any culture, any level of education can see beyond their current thinking. And there are stories that you'll come across of little children who change, and of old people who change, and of very intelligent, educated people who change, and of people with very little education who change, because insight is simply the experience of sight from within, seeing something that is helps you that you hadn't seen before. So to kind of get a feeling for it, we're going to take something that my colleague, Dr. William Pettit, invented, essentially, as a little check-in for the people that he was working with. He's a psychiatrist, and he developed this little scale, which is kind of fun and easy for people to take, and it kind of turns people in the direction of what we're going to be talking about with them. So this is just the introduction to it. Thought is a constant process. Thoughts either pass across the screen of our mind, or we give thoughts certain degrees of attention. And so we're going to really look in the scale as the degree to which you tend to give attention to different kinds of thoughts that are the most common thoughts that we notice that cause people trouble, the most common kinds of thoughts. And so if you want to, as you go through this, you can just jot down each thing, starting with this one, worry, and indicate what your quick response would be. So worry is attention to thought of what if. It's kind of like every time something occurs to you to do, the first thoughts that come to mind are, oh my gosh, but what if this went wrong? What if that went wrong? What if this happened? So people who are worriers and have a lot of worried thoughts are people that go quickly to what could possibly go wrong as soon as they start thinking about something they might say or do or follow or pursue or undertake. Then there's guilt, which is attention to thoughts of self-judgment over past mistakes. So in the case of guilt, it's like you find yourself spending more time than makes sense for no particular reason in self-recrimination, thinking about, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. I feel so bad that that happened. I can't believe I did that. I said that. You know, look back over your past and you feel terrible about things that might have occurred years ago, but you still haven't let go of them or haven't forgiven yourself. And so those are self-judgmental thoughts. And again, you pick on this scale. And the next one's resentment, attention to thoughts of hurt over what others have done. So it's like guilting other people. You're looking at things that have happened to you in the past and really resenting that they happened. You know, why did my mother do that to me? Why did my sister turn on me? Why did my girlfriend leave me? Why did my teacher fail me? Why did this person or that person? Why did this camp counselor, this store clerk? It doesn't matter, but it's a lot of people have resentful thoughts, and when they think about their past, they tend to turn towards incidents or people that have hurt them in some way, or they feel have hurt them in some way, and they just haven't been able to let it go. Then there's upset. Upset is attention to thoughts of things that don't meet your expectations or desires. So like you went to a party and you thought you were going to meet somebody and have a great time, and as it turns out, everybody else there was a couple and there wasn't anybody for you to meet, and it didn't meet your expectations, so you decided it was horrible and you left early. You had an expectation that you were going to accomplish a certain goal or take a certain path in life, and you got distracted or something else came up and it didn't work out the way you expected, and now you're thinking about it a lot and thinking that that should have happened or you wish it would have happened. So this is anything that upsets you because it didn't turn out the way you had originally thought it would. Then there's unresolved grief, and that is, a lot of people experience grief, of course, because when we lose somebody or when something really tragic happens, we have painful thoughts in that moment. The question is, how long do we continue to have them, and how long do we continue to entertain them and ruminate about them? So unresolved grief is like thinking about sad things that have happened, but not being able to just get them in perspective or let them take their place in the history of your life or pass on. So it's like people who are still mourning a death that occurred years ago, or people that can't get over losing a job that they lost 15 years ago, and they've had 4 wonderful jobs since then, that kind of thing. Then there's fear, and that's attention to thoughts about potential danger or harm. So it's the extreme of, I guess, worry, because fearful thoughts are thoughts like whenever you consider, like I'm thinking of going on vacation, but what if the plane crashes? Oh my God, look at all the things that are happening overseas. Something could happen to me. I could get shot. I could get, kidnapped. This could happen. That could happen. Or it's always future directed, and it's thoughts about the worst case scenario that come to mind, and you can't get them off your mind. So again, on the scale, where would fearful thinking fall for you? Then drivenness. This is a very common thought with especially students. Attention to thoughts of feeling driven to live up to self-imposed expectations. So you have the idea that you should be a straight A student, or you should have accomplished this by this time, or you should be getting this or such award, or things that you've created in your own mind that you think are important that should happen for you or to you, and maybe they're not working out, or maybe you don't know how they're going to work out, but you can't stop thinking about them. And that's drivenness. It's this constant push to I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this. And then there's overanalysis, which is another very common thought habit for students. Attention to going over the same thoughts again and again in search of a solution. It's sort of like trying to do a math problem over and over and over again without stepping back to reflect, to ask yourself, what happened that I didn't get the right answer? How come I can't solve this problem? It's like, all right, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. So a lot of us have this habit of just continually circling around the same thought, going over and over what we already know in search of an answer. And we apply it to problems. So after you've thought about this, if you want to make yourself a little chart or just sort of note which answers you gave to which indicators, it'd be interesting to see that, just to kind of see what your profile is. How much do you indulge in these things? Are some things just not at all important to you, and other things are quite a bit or constantly, extremely on your mind? So you might do that. Just make a little chart for yourself of where you fell on the scale. And if you need to go back through the slides, you can do that. And realize that if your answers, if anybody that fell primarily into the D and E category, obviously is living in a very upsetting world under a lot of pressure and stress, because we have a finite number of hours every day that we're awake and thinking, and to the degree that our thinking is turning towards all of these types of thoughts, we don't have a lot of room for fresh ideas, for moments in time, for new things. On the other hand, anyone who's living at the other extreme, where these things occur to them not at all or very little, has a pretty free and clear mind, and is living in a state of calm and ease in life. So you can see where the way in which we use our thinking occupies sort of our mental space, and it matters. It matters in how we're able to see life and how we handle life situations. So I just end with this little quote from Sydney Banks. Among the greatest gifts given to us are the powers of free thought and free will, which give us the stamp of individuality, enabling us to see life as we wish. But these same gifts can also be the greatest weaknesses of humanity.